Okay, so welcome everyone. This is our first online training for our customer service focus with the Bega Chamber. And we are extremely lucky to have the amazing Cate Schreck with us today. I've been following Cate's work for some time and just everything she ever says is just amazing.
Pressure's on.
So we'll be live today. This training will go for about 45 minutes. Feel free to ask questions. There is a chat box off to the side, but you can also jump in and unmute yourself and speak, because I'll mute everybody in a moment just to keep the background sound down. Any questions before I hand over to Cate for the morning? Beautiful, we're all set. So I will mute everyone except for you, Cate, and we'll get started.
Terrific. Thank you, Trish. Hi, everybody. I can see we've got Marianne, Steve, Lynn, and is that Michelle at the end? Terrific. My name is Cate Schreck, and one of the first things I like to do when I introduce myself is to just formally recognise my family name. It is Schreck. It is spelled a little differently to what you will see if you're thinking of the movie. My husband is the original Schreck, although his father will probably claim it and his father before him. We laughingly love our surname because it starts what I think is the best conversation with customers. Bit of humour, bit of fun, bit of a great way to kick off a conversation, and I also think that it's a great way for you as business owners or people who work in the business to consider from your customer's point of view how much a sense of humour makes a difference. So today what I wanted to do is give you some key ideas on not only how valuable you are in the team in the sense of what you do and what you bring to your business, but the fact that everyone in a team should be a leader of service excellence. So often I know I go to workplaces and I hear this a lot. They have customer service staff. So it's like there's a portion of the staff whose job it is to provide customer service. And everybody else gets to kind of hang out the back and be and act however they want, and they don't have the responsibility of customer service. So what I do with businesses, and I work around Australia, and I have been doing now for over 10 years, predominantly in the customer service specialist area, is helping businesses really get clear on what customers expect today, what they need to be able to do to not only educate but motivate their team to provide great service all day, every day to every customer, even the ones they might not like. And we do that in a way that is not only, I say, educational, but a bit entertainment value as well. Workplaces can get a bit stodgy. You know, there's a lot of policies and procedures and things we can't do and can't say, and, you know, we have to be very, very motivated towards compliance. And I absolutely say that that is an important thing, but not at the sake of losing your genuine customer service skills. You know, your sense of I'm a human helping a human, and that's what customer service is. Customer is person, that's what it stands for. A customer is a person and service is help. And in the business world, helping people, hopefully, is one of the key reasons you started your business. So I know that's why I started my business. My business is called Light Bulb Training Solutions. And I called it that because of the light bulb moments I had throughout my career, recognising that we seem to have got a bit lost along the way in business. It's become this stiff, boring place where people go and lose their sense of character, feel a little bit stifled. And if you've been in the same industry for more than 3 to 5 years, you can get a bit complacent. You actually forget what it is that you're doing and why you're doing it. So for our chat today, I am more than happy, Trish, if you want to ask me some questions and kind of lead me where you think the listeners would like me to go. I've got a couple of key things to share with you, but how would you like us to kind of make this happen, Trish? Oh, you've muted yourself.
Because I was making noise. So yeah, if you want to start rolling, but I'd love those in the group, like, because everybody, we've got people here from a lot of different types of businesses here. We've got people that are representing bigger businesses.
Mm-hmm.
organisations and a couple of sole traders here. So we're
Okay, got a mix.
And I'd love you to start sharing those, especially those fees. But please, everybody, jump into the chat, or if you have a desire to speak out, like unmute yourself and ask questions, because we've got Cate here, and she's like a wealth of everything that we might want to know. So feel free to put your questions in as we go along. But I'd just love you to roll with it to start.
All right, cool.
And
all right,
I'll make note of any questions that come up, and
all right.
And if everyone else can put them in the chat as we go, that would be great.
Yeah, please ask. So I guess essentially what's important to know is, what do I do and how do I do it? So I'm a specialist workplace trainer. So I literally walk into businesses, a room full of strangers, and I do group training. So I train in what's called soft skills, and I know that this is a passion area of Trish's. So soft skills being your people skills. I have a very big passion for people on the front line in any business. I work across all industries. And I have also trainers who go out and specialise in training leaders how to lead excellence, as well as me, talking to the front line. So there's three key things that I find that businesses today really struggle with when it comes to not only motivating staff to provide great service, but they struggle to keep that motivation going all year round. So what they tend to do is they get on the computer, they start Googling, they're looking for, things to do at the meeting and things to do on a team building event, or let's get an external trainer in. And the time and money they spend sort of wobbling around trying to find the right fit is usually not going to be beneficial at the other end, which is keeping the staff motivated all year. So one of the things I kind of embrace into a business and get the leaders to understand is what it is that customers want. And there are three things that customers today are assessing of any business. It doesn't matter what you sell. It doesn't matter whether you work in a volunteer organisation. Every customer is looking for three things, and they will be assessing these three things to determine if they like, trust, and want to do business with you. And it also helps them determine whether or not they're going to refer business to you. So each of the three things start with the letter P. So I'm going to take you through the three things and explain just how vital it is for every person in your team, not just those on the front line who provide the customer service directly. These three Ps make a difference also to the people who design your website, the people who might mow the lawns, clean the windows, every person that has anything to do with your business. So the first P that customers are going to assess is your product. Now, honestly, the first thing that people do nowadays is get online and Google what they want, don't they? That's generally the way that we're either thinking, okay, I want to buy a jumper, I want to buy a new car, or I need a service. I'll get online and do some research first, which is, it's a fantastic thing that we've got available nowadays. So people have a little bit of information about your product or your services, so the P also extends to services, before they've usually reached out to you. Then when they've decided if you might have what they want, and keeping in mind the product is the price of the product, the suitability of the product, the location where you are, where is this product situated, and is it priced and location and user-friendly, is it what I think I want? Then what they'll do is go to the second P. And the second P stands for process. How easy is it for your customers to access the products and services that you provide? Do you make them queue up and wait? Do they get put on hold and have to go through 6 numbers before they get to speak to someone? Can they park at the door? Can they access it online? How is it that you're making it easy for customers to get to the product? And the third P is for people. What are the people like who are interacting with your customers during the process to get to the product or service? These three Ps are so vital to understand. And if you think about it, when you go shopping yourself, when you go consuming, we all do it. Now, we might not consciously think that we're doing it, and all three Ps may come at it at once. If you have a bricks and mortar shop where people walk in, They're looking around. They may not even know they want a product, but they'll see something. But the environment of where the product sits is giving them feedback as to whether or not I like this business, I trust this business. So is it messy? Is it clean? Is there a smell? What's the smell like? Is it too overpowering? All that sort of stuff. If someone rings the business, what's the person like that answers the phone? So the combination of the 3 Ps is something that I highly recommend in a business at any size, in any industry. Go back in and check that your staff are very clear. The thing that I want you to enforce with them is that the staff may not have full control over the product. Your staff probably can't set the price. They can't determine what it is that they sell. They're there to sell it and or provide the service. They also might not have any control over the process. There might be registration forms that need to be filled out. There might be things, the process in place for the person to buy the product might not be in control of your staff. But there is one thing that every single staff member has full control over, and that is their behaviour. That is their people skills. And the good news is, if your product is a work in progress, if your processes, if you're still working out the processes, are still a little bit, we need to refine them, I think that could be better. If you have staff with great people skills, customers will forgive any product or process issue. It depends on how good the people are with communicating that, okay, this is a work in progress, or you're not happy with that, thank you for telling us. All of these are the things that I train in. I train in people skills. So a takeaway from today, get the 3 Ps on paper, put it on a whiteboard, take it back into your business and explain this is the process of how our customers are thinking, and they're deciding whether or not they like us, trust us and want us to do business with them, and or whether they'll refer people. Easy is it's a key word with customer service. How easy is it for your customers to get your products and services? And then how well skilled are your people in delivering all that information? So those are the 3 Ps. Has anyone got any questions in relation to that, or would you like me to talk about it in sort of context of your own business? I'm happy to do that. All good?
Yeah, does anybody want to jump in and talk about your particular business to work? Because one, it is great for you and your business to work it through, but at the same time, giving a real life example for the other people on the call and for the people who will listen to the recording is also really wonderful. Any volunteers? Lynn,
thanks, Lynn.
fantastic.
Thank you, Lynn.
Yep, you're unmuted. Great.
Yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of the things that you've spoken about is building a relationship, and it doesn't matter whether you're building a one-on-one relationship or a group relationship, and that underpins how people will react, trust and respect you.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something I try to remember when I'm running my small business, which is another, it's a larger product that I don't have much control over. But yeah, I think developing those relationship skills and understanding empathy and rapport is really an important part. And I think that's applicable, like say, whether you're in a shop or whether you're dealing with a phone service or anything like that.
Yeah, I totally agree, Lynn. And it's, I mean, I have to build rapport with a room full of strangers. So rapport building is something that is, it's why they call it soft skills. It's our ability to be flexible. And being flexible on the front line is huge. And I am so over going into businesses where they use a one-size-fits-all process. You know, good morning, how are you? How's your day been? And you can just tell it. They've almost sucked the life out of their staff. It's like, come on. And I guess too, I'm a product of, you know, I'm a girl that had her first job in 1984 in country Western Victoria. And to me, customer service had really huge consequences because the town I lived in was population 1,200. So if you didn't provide great service, your netball coach knew about it, your piano teacher knew about it, maybe the boy or girl that you were chasing after, their parents knew about it. There was big consequences if you didn't have a really polite and positive attitude, not just in the business, but in the town. So I got my skills, I think, pretty much from understanding that there is consequences, and it's my reputation. not just the business's reputation, it was my reputation that was on the line as well. And I find that I train a lot, obviously in Melbourne and, large cities. There is no understanding of that because there is a lot less accountability in the sense of what you do when you talk to that customer. Well, the customer walks out the door and never see him again, who cares? So building relationships has a different layer when the business doesn't have that kind of community around it. Yeah. Do you find that with your business, Lynn? Are you a sole trader?
Yeah, I'm a Thermomix contractor, consultant.
Oh, good. I'll keep you in mind.
Please do. Thanks, Trish.
She's very brave. I got mine from Lynn.
Look, I think I was a nurse. I was an intensive care nurse before, so people skills have always been first and foremost. And dealing with family in an extremely stressful situation is, I don't think there's much else that you can put on top of that. And so a lot of those skills translated to what I do now. And I do buck the trend with the formalities and the expectations in some respects, because what's important to me is that the person gets out of it what they need, and not and easily adaptable. For instance, I'm doing something at Narooma High School tomorrow. The formal process doesn't quite fit what they want. No problem. I can use my skills with teaching. I can just flex it a bit. Bosses might not quite like it, but that's okay because they're getting what they need, and I'm always still there to support them after the fact as well. And I can introduce those formal concepts later when they're ready to take that on board.
And that's exactly it. What you're saying, Lynn, is flexibility is key. One of the things that also I passionately say to business leaders, so before I get in front of their team, and I will say to them, tell me about tell me an example of what's the worst customer service in your team. Don't tell me the person's name. Just give me an example of what you see as bad customer service. And unfortunately, what I hear a lot is that it comes across to me like this. Oh, Cate, look, we've just got this one person. They're really good at their job. Like, they get everything done. They're really organised, but the way they talk to each other or the way that they talk to the customers is really a problem. And the business owner, leader, manager has sat on this knowledge for over a year. Like they just agonised over it, and they've woken up at 3 a.m. How do I tell someone that they're not very nice? And that's about the end of the conversation in their head. They just think it's too hard, I won't do it, so I'll just ignore and hope it goes away. And invariably what happens is that little tiny, molehill turns into a mountain, and then everyone complains about this person, and the only thing they think they can do is fire them. So without even having a conversation with this person at any point, they've now worked it up into this horrible situation where I just have to fire this person. 9 times out of 10 when we come in and we do a little bit of one-on-one coaching, which usually that's what will happen, most of the coaching is with the business leader, not with the person that they think is the problem. No one's a problem in a workplace unless that person hasn't had the confidence and or the ability to share what they need to do better. That's pretty much how I look at people in the workplace. There are people absolutely who are not as suited to frontline work as others, but everyone can do it if they know why they should bother, and everyone can do it if they do a little bit of work on their soft skills. So I love to hear that you walk into a room and flexibility is key. You've got a room full of people with different education, different learning styles, a whole lot of different stuff going on. Well, frontline teams are exactly the same. Couple of the main problems that I find in frontline teams, and although I'm not going to blame the leaders or the business manager for all of these in any way, shape or form, but often I find that people who have been on a frontline for more than 10 years, they pretty much treat it like their home base. And God forbid anybody come in and move my pens and pencils, change anything, do anything. They're very, very passionate about this is my job, and don't tell me how to provide customer service. I've been doing it for years. What could you know? So having the language, and I know again Trish is really very good in this area, is having the language to have the difficult conversation with a staff member, and actually understanding why what they're doing is having a negative impact, but also with some tweaks we can make some big changes. So part of being a business leader and a business owner, number one, absolutely, you must inspect what you expect. If you're going to ignore it, you'll get what you tolerate, and it will go further. And if you don't have the language or the confidence to have the difficult conversations, that's when you reach out to people like us, and we can help you through with, what do I have to say? How do I make it happen? So thank you, Lynn. Thank you for sharing. I'm really interested to know, can I just ask Steve what your business is or where you're from?
Yeah, let me just unmute that.
Thanks, Steve.
I'm an employee with 2EC Power FM, the local radio station.
Oh, wonderful.
So, and I popped a question on the chat, which is dealing with intangibles, where someone doesn't walk in and see a product. You actually have to create the benefit of the product.
Yeah.
So it's similar to the Thermomix with Lynn.
Yeah.
Only going out and saying, "Hey, it's a cooker," but it's not. It's much more than that.
Yeah.
So where I'm currently in advertising now, and promotion or business building. So customer service is a little bit different, where you've got to paint the picture. You've got to actually listen and get the benefits and then feed it back. And sometimes there are third parties which will interact with your client, which say, "Well, no, that doesn't work. This doesn't work." So you've really got to be a great customer service person, I think, to the broader people that are actually going to interact, like you're trying to develop, to deliver a certain deliverable. So just dealing with intangibles, I think, is a little bit different. So I'm just trying to get your insight into that.
Well, look, my product is intangible, so I totally understand what you're talking about there. So, Steve, honestly, the thing that has worked the absolute best for me, and it's sales, let's be honest, that's what I'm trying to do, is get out there and let people know that this thing that I do that you can't see, because I'm a service provider, makes a difference. I highly recommend models. So not bikini models. I might make a difference, let me know.
I can't see a problem with that approach. Yeah.
I highly recommend visual models. I have recently engaged the services of someone that helped me develop some models for my business. So I now have what's called a service excellence pyramid. Now, the pyramid is a very simple way for me to explain how I can take a business from here to there. So using the pyramid as a visual key, I've made it into a PowerPoint presentation. I can walk into a business with an iPad and say, look, let me just explain to you the stages a business can go through in trying to achieve a culture of service excellence. So I take them through the bottom, which is we've got unhappy customers, we've got disengaged staff, and we've got leaders who are fearful that they're going to waste time and money trying to put something in place. And then we take them up the pyramid. And on the top, what we've got is a business with a remarkable reputation. What generally tends to happen when you have something on paper, and before I got this into a PowerPoint presentation, I did it on A4 paper with a texter. But to get the model clear in your head, you need to sit down. It's like when I wrote my book, you need to purge out easy, always think easy. And think easy in the sense of what's the customer's pain? What is it that they are needing and what can I solve? And turn it into a conversation about this is how I know what you're going through, rather than this is what I'll do for you. Let the end be, now if you're interested in hearing more, this is what I can do. But to communicate something that is intangible, we have to make it in some way tangible. And I find a model, and then whether it's a pyramid, whether it's a line of stages, just this, and this, it shows that you know what you're talking about. It shows that you understand their problems. And it made a huge difference.
Do you have it there, Cate? Could you share it on your screen, your model? Is it something you can...
Yeah, I haven't. I'm sorry. And when I say I turned it into a PowerPoint, Monday. What's today? Tuesday. So I'm sorry I haven't got it, but that's what I'm talking about, because I'm so excited. I've already had a conversation over the phone with a client and said, I'll shoot you this. And he said, no, come in. I want to hear more about it. Like straight away, he's like, come in. Yeah. So the first time that I presented it, I did it on paper with a texter, and it was a mess. I was all over the shop. I hadn't obviously got my head clear and all of that, but anything more than 4 points is too much for a customer to retain as well. So keep that in your mind. If you're going to give them any information about something they've never heard of before, and you can't say, here's the can of Coke that I want to sell you, 4 points is enough. So that's why I like the pyramid. It's only got 4 steps. The bottom rung is hell and the top rung is heaven. Yeah.
Yes, it's like and I've used them for many years, like as a visual presentation. And sometimes when we get, okay, can you just email it to me? Well, I really don't like to do that because you need to be there face to face to make sure. In the businesses, they normally turn to the last page and say, okay, how much does it cost? But I'm not even at that stage yet. So it's like, I don't want to do that. I want to go through the process or what we're about, what they're about.
Totally.
Before I even get to a point, well, here's a recommendation. It's, email it. So this, unfortunately, I can't email it. So need to be present with it. Yeah.
I'm so happy to hear that, Steve. Email was fantastic in 1994 or 5 when it came in. It was such a wonderful way to communicate with people quickly and easily, and it's now turned into the only way that people will communicate. And that's one of the things I'm passionate about is let's get back to eye contact. There's iPads, there's iPhones. I want some eye contact. Let's actually start having conversations. Now, I know that if you're talking that in the sense of how do I reach the masses, well, no, we can't. But work through your masses and work out who are the top 10 you want to convert, what are they worth in the bank, and go get them with eye contact. And you can work on the others through newsletters and maybe a phone call and things like that, but eye contact still wins. Yeah. So with those models, to give you an example of how I'm about to launch and use them to a mass market, one of my niche markets is schools. So I help business managers in schools. So they could be, and their team is what's called education support staff, the non-teaching staff. So admin, reception, cleaners, librarians, integration aides. So as you can imagine, I've got 2,200 government schools across Victoria and I want them all. So what I'm doing is going to the business managers meetings with my models. So I'm standing on stage talking to 50 or 60 business managers in one go and explaining how so I almost are saying, you don't need me. This is how you take your team from good to great. Here's the pyramid. And then I also have another model which is pretty much giving away how they can do it. Now, the secret is they can't do it without me. What it does is light the fire. I know that, if some will walk away and go, no, that's not for us. Some will get excited and, oh my God, that looks so easy, and they'll wander off and try and do it. Then they'll realise, you know what, we need an expert for this. So if you can get into a situation where you can actually present to multiple people, the models work really well. They'll ask a few questions, but I'm not selling anything but my information. And then what I'm doing is building a relationship. They see Cate, they talk to Cate, they know Cate, she seems pretty easygoing. We like the way she's down to earth. Whatever it is, I will adjust my behaviour to suit the audience. And business managers want me to be really easy to approach. Business managers in schools are not interested in someone on the stage squawking at them, telling them how to do their job. I think that's life, really. I'm not interested in someone on a stage telling me how to do something I've been trying to do forever, but I am interested in someone who can give me some help.
There's no personal value in that for the people that you're wanting to grow either, because they just don't feel valued. They just feel dictated to, and they're not going to flourish.
No, and that's because I'm really clear on my why. So I'm a big fan of Simon Sinek and some of his work. If you're interested in this concept of why are you in business, or why are you working for the business that you're working in? And if it's just money, it's an external reward. I'm in business to make sure that no one in a frontline business goes home with stress. That's my ultimate why. I was a bank manager. I worked in banking for 17 years, and I spent the last 6 years up at 3 a.m. worrying about what was going on in the workplace. How am I going to get my staff motivated? Why are the customers complaining so much? Is it my fault? Blah, blah, blah. It went on and on and on. And I still see it in workplaces today. I was retrenched in 2001 from one of the big four, and it was the happiest day of my life at the time. And 24 hours later, after I got over the hangover, I thought, oh, what do I want to be when I grow up? I was 32, I was single, I had a mortgage and a year 10 qualification. I'm not a university qualified girl, and I had banking as experience, and I hated it. I hated it with a passion. So the business started with me actually wanting to go back into workplaces and teach them what I wish I knew when I was 22. And I say 22 because that's when it got serious. That's when I bought a house. That's when I had to work for money. And my priorities shifted and I didn't really like it. So now I go back in and talk about how your people skills are not only great in the workplace, they help you in life. And that's where the emotional intelligence conversations comes in. I use behavioural profiling, different ways, flexible again, not the same fit for every business or every front line. So,
sorry, one of the other things is when you're dealing with people, I think most people could tell when you're trying to make someone feel special.
Yeah.
But when you understand and get them to understand that you know that they are special,
yeah.
they're unique, their situations are always unique, and it's not just to put on, it's actually, you're actually ingrained or you're entrenched in what they're trying to achieve.
Yeah.
So it's pretty easy for people to tell fake, you know, you are fake, you're just doing it to move on with the product. But when it is a real situation and it's empathetic, then it is about that's my product, that's what I'm trying to get across. And when you're educating, even it's like a product you go and see a tangible, like a stereo system, it's when that particular person is interested in what you're trying to create, then you know they're interested in, oh, this one does this loud or that. It's totally different. So in my environment here, it's actually not having people think I think they're special. It's getting them to understand that they are special, and everybody's special in their own situation. So
you're so right. Yeah, and look, Steve, the one thing that I use consistently. So as much as I preach very comfortably from a very low place, I do say service excellence isn't treating your customers how you want to be treated. Now, I was brought up with that, you know, treat people how you want to be treated. And I say that's not what service excellence is. Service excellence is treat people how they want to be treated. And you can't understand how to treat someone unless you spend some time with them first. And I love the good old open questions. Who, what, when, where, why, and how. I start every conversation with a business leader, a business manager, or even frontliners. And I just say, so tell me, where have you been? What are your skills? What do you love about your job? What don't you like? And I just keep asking questions. And active listening is the way you get people to really trust. And I don't have to fake it because I really like people. And also I'm a big, huge introvert. So I have a tolerance for energy from people. I have to retreat and go and sit in the corner and read a book for hours and hours to get my energy back, but I do enjoy helping people. That's what I love. I think I was put on this earth to help. What I've had to work out is who needs my help. and
I think that there is that's the customer service skill you're looking for someone when you've got some in the game, some understanding, and it does mentally tire you out because you're using your brain to talk to people about what they want to know. And I'm pretty easy. I can tell us when a shop assistant or a product, someone with a product is not really interested in their job or then me. When you talk to someone that is involved in you and what you're trying to do, it makes a whole lot of difference. And I think that's customer service.
It is, and it makes financial difference to the business. People will pay more for a better experience. And time again, I've asked this question when I walk into a training room. More than 15, probably over 2,000 people I've asked this question of. Have you ever paid more due to a service experience? Have you bought the same product somewhere else purely through service? And every single time, hands go flying up. They say, yeah, I went into this shop to buy that and it was $120 there and I happily spent $150 next door because the guy listened, understood what I wanted, all of that sort of stuff. But I know consumerism puts the foot of the firecracker up salespeople because they go, I've got to hit my target. So it's like, well, now you're making it all about you. So you'll hit more targets when you actually slow down. I know my husband worked in insurance for a little while, long time ago, and he said he was coached. He had to make 100 calls. And of that 100 calls, you'd achieve, 20 callbacks. And of that 20, you get 10 sales. And he did this back in the 80s. And he said, they thought I was stupid, but what I did was go and have coffee with 20 people. And he said, I'd make 19 sales. Now, it took me a week.
Now, I'm laughing because in the 80s, I started in the 80s, 25 years in insurance and financial planning, and the ratio was 10-1, 10 calls, 2 appointments, 1 sale. And you have budget target. But what I developed and what I still use now is forget about the money.
Yeah.
It'll look after itself.
It
You
does.
do everything for your client and do it that way, the money comes. The level of reward return. So forget about the money. It's like mowing a lawn. Just do the edge. The middle looks after itself. Do the things that people want you to do, and the money will look after itself. And I don't worry about money. It'll be there or it won't. So just got to talk the talk, not just walk the walk. So do both. Yeah. So Chris was a great granny in the 80s. I probably guess who your husband worked for then, but that's okay.
He did it for a very short time.
I did it for a very long time.
He didn't love it, and I can tell you in banking, it was why I was happy to leave banking, because when I started in 1984, it was all about customer service. We were cutting up lines, Christmas cakes, we're having barbecues. We'd open the door for the elderly and we would sit with them and do their banking on the other side of the counter. In the 90s, it became, would you like a home loan with that? You know, it was awful. So
I think it's actually, the banking's actually returned to that now a little bit. You go to the Commonwealth, they've got a concierge, which will shorten the queue. So can I help you with that? A bit longer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that person, and I think it's actually returning a little bit to, it was customer service, then it became about the money.
Yeah.
Now it's come back to, well, if you don't have a customer, you don't have the money. So.
Oh, look, and thank you for saying that, Steve. At the end, that's another key tip that I do give to businesses is just remind your staff who pays their wage. It's not the business, it's the customer. And we do one activity that I have a lot of fun with. I choose my industries wisely as to who I do this with, but I bring in a coat and I've stapled $50, Monopoly money to the coat. And I say, if you need a visual to understand just how important your customer is, picture every customer coming in with these $50 notes stapled. And you can't get your wage unless that customer believes that you provided excellent service. That's your wage. They're wearing it there. So every time that you think it doesn't matter, if the only thing that motivates you is money, there it is. And very quickly they start to recognise money doesn't really make me that happy. I'm missing opportunities to delight human beings in the workplace. Money, like, I had a great experience of it. I was a bank manager. I had the car, the house, the money, the whole happiness of the money. And then when I was retrenched, I went into disability employment. And I took a 50% pay cut and had a 150% job satisfaction increase. That was probably the hugest light bulb moment of my career, is that, Cate, what you were given is something that I see is missing in workplaces, and I call it good old-fashioned back to basics. Let's just start talking to people again. Let's just start taking a breath. And Steve, you're dead right. The money, the sales, whatever it is you are employed to do will look after itself if you look after yourself and look after your customers. So I feel like I'm having a chat with a converted here, Trish. This is great. Why are these people not everywhere? I'm going to have to send you free copies of the book. Go out there.
I've probably said enough now. I'll just sit back and listen.
No, that's fantastic. Is there anyone else? Is there any questions or anything, Trish, that you want me to sort of cover?
Yeah, I just want to check in with Lisa, with Liz, with Marianne, with Michelle. Have you guys got any specific questions? I know I can't.
What's the problems? Yeah, tell me what's your problems.
Going on? What do you need help with? What would you like to get out of this session? If you guys want to unmute yourself and jump on, or put anything into the chat box, that would be great. Oh, yep, Marianne. Welcome.
Yeah, hi Trish. Hi Cate.
Hi Marianne.
Thank you. Hi. Sorry, I'm holding my phone, so I'm probably wobbling all over the place.
No, that's good.
Just what I'd like to get out of this is I'm the tourism coordinator for the Merimbula Visitor Information Centre, and we have 40 volunteers that we have staffed here, and so they do the customer service, etc., and I'm in the office doing admin, so on. So yeah, we're looking at really wanting to find some customer service training to put everyone on the same page as far as what is good customer service. So, yeah, that's why I'm tuning in today.
All right. So, look, without sounding salesy, I'm going to talk about one of my products. It is called Customer Service Bootcamp, and I've run it with many volunteer organisations.
That's what I'm after. That's what I'm after. Yeah.
So most recently I went up to Deniliquin and delivered a customer service boot camp for the Denny Ute Muster. So they have over 1,000 volunteers.
Wow.
Yeah, now I didn't stand in front of 1,000 because inherently the nature of a volunteer is you don't really want them to have to come in and do more training on top of the fact they're lovely, kind souls that are doing something for you for no money anyway.
Yes.
So Denny Ute Muster organised, they have a team of 6 paid employees, and they managed to get 30 of the volunteers to come in. And we ran what's called a customer service boot camp. And it's a boot camp, I say it's a no sweat boot camp. The idea is that we get people in the room and we just brush up our people skills. We set the focus again of why we're doing what we're doing. I don't call it a training day, I call it a recognition and reward day. So it's about recognising how wonderful they are, how valuable their skills are. It's thanking them for what they do, as well as giving them a brush up on some skills that they can take into their life outside of this volunteer job that they're doing. So what I cover off on is to give you a visual look of it. It works. I wouldn't have more than 40 people because beyond that we start to turn into just a big day of, people that are a little bit distracted and noisy. 40 is really good. People get to ask questions. So we cover off on the key topics of being what I call a customer service professional. We kick it off with why they should bother. So I start off with getting them motivated to understand why they're here, what we're going to do, and why they've been invited in. We move into communication skills. So we do face-to-face and telephone. We talk a lot about emotional intelligence. I share with them the 4 human behavioural styles. We don't do behavioural profiling, but we have fun, and we talk about how if you had Donald Trump walk in front of you one day, you might want to communicate with him a little differently than if you had Mother Teresa walk in the door. It's understanding that different humans have different ways of receiving and wanting information. So we talk about that. We move on to the dealing with difficult people. So I leave them with a 4-step process to help them in that moment when they just feel like perhaps the customer's a little bit unjustified in what they're saying, all those kind of icky situations that most frontliners have to deal with at some point. And then we finish off the day with stress. We talk about self-management of stress in the workplace, team management of stress in the workplace. It's a very interactive day as well. So it's about people sitting in small groups, having conversations and talking. It's not, death by PowerPoint, which is what I went through way too many years in my career. So, that's an idea of how you can bring some training into the volunteer situation. And mostly the feedback that we get from that is, oh, thank God it wasn't what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
Yeah, and I can see someone's asking, can we share the 4-step guide? Absolutely. It is in my book, which I will give you guys a bit of a special offer after this presentation as well. So everything that I talk about is in my book called The A to Z of Service Excellence. So every chapter is a chapter related to something that it needs some attention in a customer service role. So it's sort of a situational book where if something's going on, you pick it up and pick the chapter that's relevant. So H is for handling complaints, and that's where the 4-step process is. Or maybe you're under stress and you think, oh, I'm just having a bad day on the front line. You go to chapter Z for Zen, how to calm down, all the things to do. So I will give you a bit of a special offer before we finish today.
Great.
So did that help?
Kate. Yes.
Good. That's one way. That's face-to-face group training. The other exciting thing I'm putting forward is an online resource centre, which has little videos of me. It has downloadable things, and if you or any of the people from this webinar are interested, we get you to sign up to our newsletter, and as soon as I launch it, you will have access to it. So it's a low cost and time effective way to bring some training into your team. without having to get Cate to come and do face-to-face. It doesn't replace face-to-face. That's still the best training. But all my clients are calling out for stuff so they can keep the momentum up all year. They find I come in, people get excited and we have a great time, and then within a week, they go back to their old behaviours. So this is an online resource where you as a business manager or a team leader can go into and pick out what you need to keep that motivation going all year. So I'm hopeful to get that launched before the end of the year.
Great.
And we'll get a bunch of these links together, and I'll email them out to all of you guys so that you can sign up for Cate's newsletter, so you can get to her book, so you can have access to all of Cate's genius. And Cate is prolific at writing blog articles. She has a lot on LinkedIn, on Smallville, on your own website. So there's a lot of those resources there, and I'll keep sharing them over the next little bit on the Chamber page. So we're at our 45 minutes, but if anybody has any more questions that they want to jump in, I don't want anyone to walk away from this feeling that they missed out on knowing something or have a burning question. But do you want to tell us about your book and the offer while we're just waiting to see if anybody wants to finish up?
Absolutely. So here it is, and there's a little picture of it behind me. Apparently your IQ goes up by something like 10 points when you write a book, even though no one reads it. So the good news is I've had people actually reading it. So as I said, it's the A to Z of service excellence. It's not written for business managers or leaders. It's written for your team. So it's written from someone who worked on the front line, me, since the age of 14, who's now 50. So there's packed full of things as to how it feels some days on the front line. I've put some funny stories in there. I've put some real tough stories in there, but it's every chapter, at the end of every chapter, there's actions. So business leaders are buying it for the business and actually picking a chapter and then implementing the action into the team meeting or asking the team to do something. So it's a resource for the business manager, but you'll find that it's written for and in the language of a frontline employee. It's beneficial for every person in the workplace, let's be honest, but it's targeted at our frontline staff. So I'm going to give you a 50% off special offer for this, and that is posted to your door. So when Trish sends out the link, you'll see there's a discount code in there. So it's $29.95 retail, so you get 50% off. You'll also be given a link to my website, which has some free resources on there. One of the ones I highly recommend you download is the 7 Mistakes. This is a brochure that will really give you an idea of more things that you can do to avoid making the 7 mistakes that most businesses make when they've got an aim to create a culture of service excellence. There's a few videos of me on there, and as I said, the newsletter itself, if you get onto that, there's one a month. I'm not going to kill you with information. It drives me nuts when my inbox fills up with people trying to push things at me. So one newsletter once a month to keep you engaged also when my new online platform is launched.
Fantastic. That is brilliant. Thank you so much, Cate. So any final burning anything before we finish up for today? Basically, I just want to say thank you so much for coming and sharing all of this with us. We've got a few really interesting, so useful, fantastic thank you coming in the chat box.
Thanks, everybody. Thanks for the opportunity. Really, I love this way of, I'm sitting here just the other side of Geelong. I may or may not have tracksuit pants on. Like, how wonderful is this? Sorry, Steve.
It is pretty wonderful. It's pretty amazing that we can connect with you and all of that. Beautiful. Well, let's close on up. So thank you everyone for being here live, and to all of those who are here listening to the recording sometime into the future, thank you for connecting and jumping onto the recording. A couple of extra announcements is that the customer service survey is open, so let your people know about it so they can tell us what they want in customer service in Bega. And we'll have our next training sometime next month. we've got David Blair, and he's going to talk about the customer experience and how you can nurture the whole of the customer experience, and that's coming up, and you'll get emails about all of that, and it's happening sometime in June. I think at the end of June, 28th from memory, and we're doing it in the afternoon at about 1 o'clock. And that's all I've got to say. Any final words before we finish up?
I just want to say thank you, Cate. Thank you, Trish. Thank you, Bega Chamber. Fabulous. Okay, I've got to run. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Marianne. See you.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.
Thanks, Lynn.
That's been great. So thank you very much.
Steve.
Yeah, your pleasure and my pleasure. Sorry.
No,
Wrong way around, yeah.
Pleasure.
Still stuck on that tracksuit one.
Hey, I told you, sense of humour, mandatory.